So, welcome back to Touring History X, Y, and Z, the podcast that proves history isn't just about dead white guys in wigs, though we do love those too.
Yeah,
I'm Lane.
and I'm not in a wig, Dave. Before we dive into today's historical buffet, let's give a shout out to our sponsor, Hi Ho Cheeseburgers at hiho.la. So when you're craving a burger that's actually worth your time, Hi Ho serves exclusively 100% grass-fed Wagyu beef that's sustainably raised and certified humane. None of that industrial farming nonsense with these guys. Just pure, delicious beef from First Light Farms in New Zealand.
Right. And we're doing July 7th today, which means we're looking at three events that happened on this date throughout history, each one specifically chosen because it hits different for Gen X, Millennials, and Gen Z. Plus, we've got some birthday surprises.
That's right. Speaking of birthdays, let's start with the people who decided July 7th was the perfect day to make their grand entrance into the world.
Yeah, we've got Ringo Starr turning 85. And yes, he's still drumming circles around musicians half his age.
Oh, and Sandra Day O'Connor would be 88 today, the first woman to serve on the Supreme Court. Talk about breaking through glass ceilings with a gavel. You go, girl.
Order, order.
Order.
Figure skater Michelle Kwan is 45, and I still remember watching her glide across the ice like she was defying physics.
Ooh, there's a vision. And then there's comedian Jim Gaffigan, who hits 52, the man who made us all feel better about our relationship with food.
Yeah, I bet he would love himself a hi-ho cheeseburger. I think he
Oh,
would. I
I
think
think
he would. And Vonda Shepard turned 61. If you watched Ally McBeal, you know exactly why that voice still gives you chills.
All right, let's jump into our first event. And this one's for our Gen X listeners who grew up watching history unfold on CNN.
Yeah, July 7th, 1981, Ronald Reagan nominates Sandra Day O'Connor to the Supreme Court, making her the first woman ever nominated to the highest court in the land.
Well, Mommy, I think, we should put somebody in a skirt up on that dais. Hmm? Yes,
Hmm.
I think that's a good idea. Yeah, well, here's the thing that blows my mind about this moment. Reagan promised during his campaign that he'd nominate a woman to the Supreme Court, and a lot of people thought it was just political theater, but he actually did it.
And this hits different for Gen X because you guys were coming of age during the Reagan era, watching this unfold in real time. You were the first generation to grow up seeing women in these unprecedented positions of power as normal.
This is about time, exactly. While previous generations had to fight for these firsts, Gen X got to witness them happening. You were teenagers and young adults watching O'Connor navigate confirmation hearings, seeing her become this steady, pragmatic voice in the court.
What really strikes me about this is how it shaped Gen X's relationship with institutional authority. You saw that change was possible within the system, but you also saw how slow and hard fought that change was.
Yeah, but she did it, and O'Connor wasn't just symbolic, she was substantive. She became the swing vote on so many crucial cases, especially around, of course, women's rights and reproductive freedom. For Gen X, she represented this idea that you could work within broken institutions and actually make them better.
The timing is crucial too. This is 1981, right as Gen X is forming their political consciousness. They're seeing that appointments matter, and the Supreme Court isn't just some distant institution. It's going to affect their entire adult lives.
Yeah, it's not just about some bunch of guys and one woman in a bunch of robes. God knows what's underneath them. But they actually bring us to our second event, and this one's going to hit our millennial listeners right in the feels. Right in the
Oh
feels.
boy, in the
Right
fields.
in
A
the
lot.
feels.
I mean, this
God, where
going
my
into it,
feel?
the headline doesn't feel like the feels to me. London bombings, but okay. July 7th, 2005, coordinated terrorist attacks on London's public transport system killed 52 people and injure around 800 others.
Yikes. Yeah, blown up buses everywhere in London. This event is seared into millennial memory because it happened right when social media was becoming a thing. But before it was everywhere. You had this weird moment where information was spreading faster than ever, but nobody quite knew how to process it.
Yeah, can we talk about how this was different from 9/11 for millennials? You were older now, maybe in college or starting your careers. This wasn't happening to you as kids watching TV in a classroom. You were adults trying to make sense of this in the real world.
And it hit different because London felt safe. This was supposed to be the civilized, stable ally. If it could happen there, it could happen anywhere. For millennials, this was another crack in the foundation of institutional trust.
What's particularly millennial about this moment is how it played out online. You had people using early social media to check on friends, to share information, to process trauma collectively. This was maybe the first major tragedy where the internet was both a source of anxiety and comfort.
Yeah, you didn't have to wait till the evening paper or the evening news to find out what happened. It was straightforward and right there. The other thing that makes this specifically the other thing that makes this specifically millennial is the context. You're dealing with the Iraq war, you're starting to question the war on terror narrative, and then this happens. It's this terrible confirmation that the world is more dangerous and complex than you were promised, and you don't like it.
Yeah, and unlike Gen X, who had time to develop some cynicism about institutions, millennials were still figuring out how much to trust authority when events like this kept happening. It's part of why this generation struggles with institutional faith.
Ooh, wheels turning, wheels turning. You're about to connect this to our Gen Z event. I know it. I know
Well,
it, aren't
maybe.
you?
But first, let's take a break and talk about something that won't give you existential dread.
Oh, goody, goody, goody. It's about burgers. You know what doesn't leave you questioning reality? A really good burger. And when we say really good, we mean hi ho cheeseburgers, where every single burger is made with 100% grass fed Wagyu beef. Oh,
Yeah, and here's what's wild about Hi Ho. They're not just throwing around buzzwords. This beef comes from First Light Farms in New Zealand.
I,
Did I do that right, Dave?
that was pretty good there, mate.
Yeah, well, the cows are actually treated like living beings, not profit margins. Antibiotic free, GMO free, and somehow still taste better than anything you've had.
Ah, good on you, mate. And speaking of history, did you know that grass fed beef has been around for thousands of years? That's right, cows have been eating it forever. It's only recently that we decided to mess with a perfectly good system and feed them grain. Hi ho is basically serving you what your great 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 grandfather would have recognized as actual food. Maybe not a
Yeah.
burger because they weren't around, but it was food.
Plus, the Wagyu beef is lower in saturated fat, but higher in heart healthy omega 3s and antioxidants. So you can feel good about eating something that tastes incredible. Check them out at hiho.la.
That's right. It's like eating a vitamin burger. Now, let's go to our final event, and this one's going to resonate with our Gen Z listeners in ways that might surprise you.
Yeah, so here we are, July 7th, 1985. Boris Becker becomes the youngest men's Wimbledon champion ever at age 17.
Oh, Boris, you wild, wily German. I know what you're thinking. How is a tennis match from 1985 relevant to Gen Z? Well, here's the thing. This moment represents everything Gen Z understands about breaking barriers and defying expectations.
Yeah, Becker didn't just win Wimbledon young. He was the first German to win it, the first unseeded player to win it, and he did it with this aggressive, unconventional style that the tennis establishment hated.
That's right. He brought the German blitzkrieg to tennis. This is peak Gen Z energy right here. You got a teenager who looks at centuries of tradition and says, "Yeah, that's nice, but I'm going to do it my way." Ha! He dove for shots, he showed emotion, he broke every unwritten rule for proper tennis.
And the part that absolutely floors me is how he handled the pressure. At 17, he's playing in front of millions of people, carrying the expectations of an entire country, and he just delivers.
Yeah.
That's very Gen Z. This generation has been performing under pressure their entire lives.
The media tried to turn him into this overnight sensation, this poster boy for German tennis, and he managed to stay authentic to himself while navigating all of that. Sound familiar? That's right,
Yeah.
it's me.
What really connects this to Gen Z is the idea that you don't have to wait your turn. You don't have to pay dues or follow the prescribed path. If you're good enough and you work hard enough, you can change the game entirely.
Yeah, and Becker's victory opened doors for other unconventional players. He proved that tennis didn't have to be this stuffy elite sport. It could be dynamic and emotional and accessible. That's very Gen Z, taking institutions and making them work for everyone.
Plus, he was doing this in 1985, right when MTV was changing how we thought about youth culture and authenticity. He was part of this wave of young people who refused to be told they had to wait their turn.
That's right. I'm just jumping ahead of the line. Get out of my way. So here's what's fascinating about July 7th. We've got three events that are all about breaking barriers, but in totally different ways.
Yeah, you've got Sandra Day O'Connor working within the system to create change, the London bombings showing how global events can shake institutional trust, and Boris Becker proving that sometimes you can just ignore the rules and win anyway.
That's right. Watch me now. Each generation experienced these moments at different stages of their development, and it shaped how they approach authority, trust, and change. Gen X learned that institutions could evolve. Millennials learned that safety was more fragile than they thought. And Gen Z learned that you don't have to wait for permission to excel.
Yeah. Well, before we wrap up, don't forget to grab a burger from Hi Ho Cheeseburgers
Oh,
at
yeah.
hiho.la.
Yes.
Trust us, your taste buds will thank you. And your conscience will too.
And if you enjoyed this episode, smash that like button and subscribe for more historical deep dives. But here's something also that's fun: record a voice memo and tell us about your favorite historical date. It could be your birthday, your graduation, any moment that matters to you.
Yeah, if we use your voice memo in our animated version of the podcast, you'll be brought to life by Says So, our animatronic robot answering machine. How cool is that?
Yeah, and you get a free t shirt. Until next time, keep questioning everything. And remember, history isn't just about the past, it's about understanding why we are the way we are.
Yes, and so this has been Touring History X, Y, and Z. I'm Lane.
And I'm Dave. Thanks for touring with us. Until
Ha-
next time.
See you in the future. Are they still there?
I don't know.